reunion in 2010, I think, and 5 years later, I think you finally released this Destruction System album, and finally now you released a new full-length album. So how it was starting from the reunion this almost 15 years ago?
In 2010, Jay Visser, the other guitar player, he got the band kind of back together, and I think he had Pat at the beginning. Pat was kind of in and out a couple times because of his work schedule or whatever. But he got the band together with, so they had those two, and then all the other musicians were not original members. And then he kept that going until about, I think, 2019, 20. They kind of split up, and things kind of changed for myself and Pat, who Pat had currently moved out of the state, so he was back. Jay got a hold of us and asked if we were up for coming back and, do an album, do some shows, whatever. So the band, we were able to get Bob Zabel, the bass player that was with Jay since 2010, and DJ Bogomel on drums. He was with the band for about 6 years, I believe. So this formation of the band got together a little after 2020. So up till then, Destruction System that came out in 2016, I believe, somewhere around there. That was recorded obviously back in '92. Just kind of got shelved. It never was really finished. So in 2016, when it did get released, I've always been in contact with the band, with Jay. We've always been friends, and we live close to each other and that. So Destruction System, there was the interest in it, and it got touched up a little bit, and it got released. But realistically, the band hasn't really recorded anything since '92, up till Swallowed by Hell now, the new album. So I'm not sure if that's answering your question or not, but that's kind of the history of why we didn't record obviously anything since '92. I think we did something in 2010 for the Thrashaholic thing. We did record a little bit there, some older songs for that release, but otherwise, Swallowed by Hell's basically the first release in 30 some years, basically.
Yeah. Okay. When you really started working with a thing that you want to put out a new full-length record, when you started really working on Swallowed by Hell?
We got together, like I said, a little after 2000, between 2020 2021, and we took about probably the first 7 months was just jamming and polishing up on old stuff, and we didn't really start writing anything during that time. Then we slowly, it was kind of our intention right from the start when Pat and I came back, with having 3 original members and being able to keep Bob in the band and DJ. It was pretty much our intention right from the start to record an album. So, but we didn't start writing it right away. We just wanted to get, us 5 all meshing together really good and learning each other's the way they play and habits and things like that. So we started writing in 2000, and the beginning, I would say the earlier part of 2021, we started writing. We wrote till it took us about a year and a half, a little over a year, I would say, almost to write the 10 songs. And then the recording process was a little slow because we could get where we recorded this where we recorded Swallowed um, in at Bell City Sound in Racine. It's fairly close to us, about an hour and a half away. But Chris Stazurek, he's the engineer that we worked with. His schedule was limited, so so we'd get recording time when he was available. So it took a little bit for the recording, and then it was obviously sent out to Chernobyl Studios with Scott Elliott, and that took a little bit, but not too bad. But you're working with somebody that's in another country, so that was a little different. But we really wanted to work with Scott. We liked what we found him on YouTube actually, and we liked the stuff he was doing, and felt that he could bring some bit of modern production to the album without losing. We didn't want it to be just completely modern sounding. We still wanted to retain some of what we are as far as we're an old school thrash band. So we didn't want to get too far away from that, and we felt he would do a good job of it. So so the whole thing took probably 2 years, 2.5 years, maybe somewhere around there for us to from start to till we had it in our hand.
Mm-hmm. Did you have some specific goals, things that you wanted to achieve during writing and recording of your new album?
Well, like I just said, with the the production we didn't want. We wanted to still keep it relatable to what we are and the old school thrash. That was kind of the goal right from the start too. As far as the music, I get asked a lot about that, and it's hard. It's a hard question to answer in the sense that we don't set out to sound a certain way. We just, what you hear is just the way we play, the way we write. It doesn't there's we like I said, there's no we don't specifically like write something and say that don't sound heavy enough, or that's not fast enough, or whatever. I mean, that kind of stuff happens a little bit when we're tweaking the songs, but for the most part, this is just who we are, and we're I always say we're a product of our influences, and it just comes out the way it comes out. And so we didn't we the one thing I guess I would say, as far as that, we did make a conscious effort to still be relatable to our older music, as much as you can. I mean, it's obviously 30 years later, so we're a lot older, but for the most part, this is just it just comes just this is how we play, and it just comes out the way it comes out.
Okay. So, like, for me, Distraction System is a bit different album than your debut album, Spectrum of Death. But for me personally, your new album sounds like a natural continuation of Spectrum of Death. So, did you think something like, let's make something similar, or like some kind of continuation to your debut album? Did you have a feeling like that during writing and recording of Swallowed by Hell?
Yeah, we definitely did. We didn't. one of the things that determines for us, I guess, is the fact that we have DJ in the band. Um, his ability to play extremely fast really kind of um, it kind of lets you kind of do whatever you want in the sense of how fast we want to play. And we did want this album to be, Destruction System is a little slower album, I guess you can say. It's a little more groovy. Um, and that was us at that time. That was our, might be, it seems odd that it was recorded about, roughly 3-4 years after um, Spectrum, that we would have changed that much in that amount of time. But that's, I mean, that is what happened. We didn't set out to record slower. It was just, that's kind of where we were at the time. But we wanted to keep the album fast, and like I said, having DJ really gave us that opportunity to keep the songs driving as much as we felt necessary, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You said that you gathered like the whole band in 2020 or maybe 2021 to like starting working on a new album. But what about this whole ideas? How old are they? How old are them? And like which ones of you all are the main authors of them?
Are the main what?
Like main writers of the whole album.
As far as the band, everybody, I believe Jay and myself are the oldest guys in the band. Pat's right behind us. Bob, we're all in our 50s, mid 50s. And DJ, fortunately, he just turned 38, so he's not real young, but he's young enough that he's still got a lot of stamina and his agility and his ability is still, I'm not saying that when drummers, when they get old, they can't play like that, but it helps having a younger drummer. So but as far as the writing, everybody kind of contributes what parts that they come up with, and what we're working on, ideas and things like that. Typically we um, we started a WhatsApp group right away with the band when we started writing, and we use that, not besides just communicating and stuff with band related stuff. um, we would record, like if Jay had a part, or a lot of times he'd send me 6-7 parts, and he would just videotape them and send them over to me on WhatsApp, and whatever, we kind of work that way with WhatsApp, with bouncing parts back and forth. And then typically I would take them parts, kind of arrange them, put them in the computer, and give it basic beats just to get a feel for how everything went. So we the songs were kind of structured that way, majority by me, but then once I had a rough recording of one of the songs, then I would bring it and everybody would listen, and then we would make changes based on how it felt and that. So I guess I had a lot to do with the arrangements and stuff, putting the thing together. But everybody pretty much contributed. The bass, unless it was something specific, Bob typically, once the song was, we were all happy with it. Here is basically what the song is going to be. Then Bob would he would add his bass lines after. We'd show him what we're doing, obviously, so he knew. But then all of his bass stuff's obviously written by him. Same with DJ. The drums were put down as a guide, as a reference. But without fills and stuff, because I'm not going to waste my time coming up with drum fills and stuff on a computer. I just put basic parts and whatever. So once, like I said, once the song was there, then everybody just kind of attacked it and added their own parts to it to create the final product.
Mm-hmm. Morbid Saints songs were always unique for me because they are brutal, they are really fast, and yeah, like you said, you're an old school thrash band, so it's obvious. But they were always for me some kind of catchy, and especially choruses. So and on Swallowed by Hell, it's for me it is really catchy record, and still it's brutal and really fast. So when you're writing Morbid Saints songs, is like you think that it must be catchy in some way, and do you think that song of Morbid Saint needs something like that in their structure?
Yeah, excuse me. I appreciate that, because that's kind of something we strive. We've always strived for that. And I'm glad that you perceive it that way, because it's meant to be that way. And we do we when writing the songs, I have always been better at writing. I know some people, everybody has their own way of doing things, and I know people write music and then they'll give it to their singer, and he'll write words to the music. I know people do that. I've always been the opposite way. I've always preferred to have the lyrics as the song is being written, so that the guitar, our guitar tends to go with the lyrics. We don't. If you look at it the way some people write, you might think that the singer is writing the words to go with the music, and that might be the case. But in our case, a lot of times the lyrics are the like the catalyst or whatever that sometimes triggers guitar parts, ideas, how they're put together. And we and I always felt that the songs, even if you hear them one time, there should be something there that is, it's like you said, catchy, rememberable, and we've always strived for that. So I'm glad that you get that, because that's really a big part of how we write, and why we write things the way we write. Because I hear a lot of music that's really good. The musicians are great and everything, but after after I hear a lot of times I'll hear a song, and a little while later I can't remember really much of it. It's a good song, things are good about it, I like it, but there was no real hooks that really that grab you and stick with you right away. And like I said, I'm glad you perceive it that way, because that's how we hoped it would be perceived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I think these catchy moments are like really necessary in a good song, because a lot of new fresh bands are like, riffs are good and it's good, it's heavy, it's fast, but then like the whole album, it's like you would listen to one song and you, like you said, you can't really remember much of it. So yeah, so it's really important, like for me.
Yep, for us too.
Yeah, so your new album and also ratios of Spectrum of Death and Destruction System were released by a wonderful label, High Roller Records. So how uh, how you started like a collaboration with this label?
We got when we were with Century Media, when they wanted to reissue Spectrum um, and Destruction on a they released like one album. It's like an extended edition. It has like everything we recorded on it. Um, when we started, we worked with them. High Rollers. I'm not sure. I'm just assuming that High Rollers has some connection with Century Media, but they were licensing it through Century Media. When the band got back together in between 2020 and 21, we did not we kind of ended our contract with Century Media, because we wanted to be in control of all of our the full catalog. So when we did that, for High Rollers to be able to keep, High Rollers wanted to continue to release Spectrum, and eventually most recently they did um, Destruction System also. They contacted us and wanted to get the right, which we were more than happy to do that. And when they found out that we were working on a new album, they showed a lot of interest in it. So um, we we just felt that it's we have a great working relationship with them already, that it kind of felt natural to just stay with them for this album, and maybe more. But we have a good, like I said, good relationship with them. They put out a great product. They've been very helpful. Yeah, we like working with them. We're glad that we chose to release Swallowed with them, and like I said, hopefully that continues to in the future.
Okay. So now let's get to the old times of Morbid Saint, like before you broke up in '94. So how was it after you released Spectrum of Death? Because this is a timeless classic in Fresh. So how was it then? If it's how people reacted on it, like in the, let's say, first year or 2 years after the release date.
One of the weird things, people now who, Spectrum of Death has kind of a cult following, and there's a lot of people who hold it, I guess, in high regards as a great thrash album. Um, that didn't happen right away. When we first released it, it wasn't it wasn't received very well. Our the distribution of it was very, very limited. But so it didn't, it was not a really well liked album, I guess you could say. When it came out, it was uh, nothing really changed for us, which is why we were going back in to record Destruction System eventually, and it was basically when we were recording Destruction, it was it would have been a second demo for us, because we didn't have a label. Um, we were never really signed to anybody. We signed, a small thing with Avanzada, who released Spectrum originally. That was the first label that actually did anything with us. But they're a Mexican label, and I don't know how widely it was distributed at the time, but it was not it definitely was not perceived how it is now. It took 20 whatever years of the internet and people discovering it and it getting around that way for it to become, you know, as well liked, I guess, as it is now. It was not like that when we recorded it at all.
Okay. So Destruction System was basically, like you said, a demo in 92 or something, and but it got released like as a real album in 2015 or 2016. I can't remember.
Yep.
So how was it with that? Why it was like that, that you recorded it then, like in the beginnings of the 90s, and eventually released it 20 years later? Why?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, what with Destruction System, what happened was, um, you know, we were going in and recording the album, and again, you know, there's no label support there. We're all, you know, we've kind of always been doing this stuff on our own, and we would, you know, whenever we had enough money, the band had enough cash, we would, you know, book some studio time. So we were kind of in the process of just recording it. You know, we would record what we could afford to go in and record, and then come back and come back. And what eventually happened was the band finally, you know, this we all went our separate ways. The band broke up, and Destruction System, we never actually finished that album. Um, so it in I mean in reality, the album should have never been released, um, but it got uh, it got leaked by somebody, you know, and we don't know. We didn't, you know, it wasn't the band, and you know, somebody somehow got a recording of it, and it got leaked out there, and there started being bootlegs showing up of it, and it just got to the point where there was, you know, some interest in releasing it. Um, so we kind of just agreed to, you know, say, well, it got kind of touched up. They did some, you know, what they could do it. We don't, the original tracks for that, the studio that we recorded in, Wave Digital closed, and all that, you know, the original tapes, everything, that's all gone. So it got out there, and you know, we weren't gonna finish it. Um, so we just kind of, you know, we just kind of went with it. It's like, it's already out now, so let's have an official release. So you know, what you hear in when you listen to Destruction System is, you know, Pat's vocals are not, they weren't meant to be the finished vocals. They were basically kind of what we call like when you record, sometimes you'll do like a what we call a scratch track with guitars, just so, you know, the drummer's got something to follow if you're recording drum tracks separately or whatever. um, so his vocals were laid down, but they were laid down kind of as a guideline for the music. They were never meant to be his finished vocals. So, you know, like I said, what you're hearing is not the album we technically intended to make, you know, because it wasn't finished yet. So, um, you know, like I said, in around 2015, that's when there was a real small label, I believe, from Greece, um, and they wanted to put it out, and like I said, we agreed to it just because it had already been leaked out, and there was bootlegs of it floating around. So um, that's really why it never got released back in '94. Had the band stayed together, it would have been released back then, but that's just the way things happened.
Mm-hmm. For me, Spectrum of Death is a like incredible album, but anyway, like when you started working on something that later became destruction system, did you feel some kind of pressure, some some feeling that you won't will not get something as good as Spectrum of Death?
I think the part of the reason that destruction system sounds different than Spectrum is because, like I said, if Spectrum of Death, when we released it, if it would have, taken off and people really liked that album at the time, and things would have been, different for the band, we probably would have had more of a tendency to try to make another album similar to it. But because it didn't, and times were changing with music, death metal was starting to, really be more real dominant. And I think that's part of the reason why Destruction sounds different, because we were trying to go in a slightly different direction because Spectrum didn't do well. So had Spectrum done better than what it did at the time, Destruction System probably would have been an entirely different album than what it was. But I think that had something to do with why it sounds that why we changed slightly. Trying to, like I said, if you have if you make an album, even nowadays, you make an album and it doesn't do well, there's really no reason to try to duplicate that. So even though everybody perceives Spectrum as a great album or whatever, that's how they perceive it now. That took a long time for that album to get be as appreciated as much as it is. It wasn't like that in the beginning. So if had it been appreciated like that right from the start, we probably would have continued on that same path. And I think that's part of the reason now, we come out with a new album now after, so long. If you're gonna have a we have two albums out, from the past, Spectrum and Destruction. If even in our minds, if you're gonna, I like both the albums, but Spectrum is really the main, that's our album that people know us by. So if you're gonna come out with an album 30 years later and you're gonna try to sound like one of those albums, you're gonna try to sound like the one that people like. So, and that's what we did. We went back to what we initially, our initial, how we write and how we play, because like I said, now that's kind of evident by what album people like the most. So like I said, and that same thing probably would have happened back then if Spectrum of Death would have been received real well at the time and liked, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. What were your biggest influences when you were forming Morbid Saint?
The band in general. What were we like? What kind of music were we listening to, or?
Yeah, which bands pushed you all to start a band and play what you are playing?
Early influences. I mean, I can only speak for myself as far as guitar, but it's obviously because of my age. The guitar stuff I grew up when I was learning what is Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, stuff like that. And that's actually what we started playing when we first got together as a band. That's what we were playing. We were just like a lot of bands. We were a cover band, and that's the music we started playing in the band, and it just slowly progressed. And I think that happens when you're a musician. I think you want to I mean, I've always felt that way, that, when you hear something that's like, wow, listen to this, and it's something you can strive to become better as a musician. Um, that's just kind of a natural thing. When we started, you started getting into the, Slayer and Creator, and um, even, early Metallica and Megadeth and Exodus, and all those early thrash bands. I mean, pretty much for us, the minute we started hearing that stuff, that just we gravitated right to that. Um, if only for, the sense of being able to play something like that is more challenging, and that was just a natural progression, I guess, for all of us to do. We just gravitated to the fast and aggressive stuff when it came out. So that's pretty much the music I think we all were really listening to at the time. Obviously, we're we're a thrash band, so we we listen to, all that old school thrash nowadays. That was all new to us back then. So, but it was, like I said, when we started hearing that and listening to it, we kind of knew right away that that's how we wanted to play. What we turned into is just a product of, what we listened to, and how we took it in our natural progression.
Hmm. So before we get back to the like today times, why Morbid Saint broke up in 94, 95?
The band didn't, it never, we didn't break up, like, because like something bad happened or whatever. It really was just, we were starting to get um, older, and nothing was, we weren't we weren't making a living off of Morbid Saint. And when you're real young, and your responsibilities change, and that's kind of what happened. We just, it slowly started getting to the point where, some of us had um, uh, families now, or spouses, and you know, and you have to do what, puts food on your table, and puts a roof over your head, and the band wasn't doing that. It never, even to this day, Morbid Saint has never really supported its members financially. We don't make a lot of money from the band. So we all still have jobs now, and people got families and kids and things like that. So that's really why the band we just just separated, because everybody had responsibilities that we didn't have when we were younger. When we first started the band, when we got Lee, the drummer, when we got him in the band, he was only 14 years old, and you know when you're young, and even some of us being 18, like I said, we practiced all the time, every day, and that's all we did was Morbid Saint. And like I said, it got to a point where we just can't continue to do this, because it's just not feasible, um, because it's not paying the bills. So that's pretty much why why the band separated in the beginning, or back in the 94ish. Nowadays, we're back together, and we still, obviously, like I said, have jobs and families and stuff that we have to take care of, but we treat the band as like, I guess we kind of look at the band as a hobby. It's not our, like I said, it's doesn't pay our bills. Um, and we all know that, and we know that we're not, like, when you're a kid, you have dreams of being a rock star or whatever. We don't have that anymore. So there's not a lot of pressure on us. We don't feel the need to, we're doing this because we want to do it. And the fact that people even care that we recorded a new album, for us is unbelievable. I mean, it's awesome, and but we take it for what it is. We understand that, which I may answer a question that you might have coming up, but it's one of the reasons that Morbid Saint is, especially now, is not a touring band. We can't tour because like I said, we all have jobs. So we can take limited time off and things like that, which is what we'll do, and we'll play, the shows that that everybody in the band schedules fit into. But we can't just go on a 2-3 month tour with somebody or whatever. That we can't do. But we're going to try to play as many shows as we can.
Yes. That question is coming up, but yeah, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
So now let's get back to the present times. So after you released a new album, after, like you said, almost or more than 30 years.
Yep.
Can we say that Morbid Saint is back for a longer time, and now, as far as health and everything will let you do that, but can we say that Morbid Saint is back and will be here for the next couple of years?
I would have to say so. I think the band right now has everybody's in a really good position as far as their own lives and things, so everything's real stable, and the band together, the lineup that we have right now, us five, just we mesh really, really well. We all get along really good. I've said this in other interviews, and I couldn't ask for, a better group to be doing this with right now. So that helps a lot. That's a big thing in bands. When you get five different, five people who all have different attitudes and whatever, and especially when you're young, things, things are bound to go bad. It's just the way it is. And so I give credit to the older bands that I listen to, like the Maidens and stuff like that are, for the most part still, them same guys, and so I think, yeah, I don't see any reason we're going anywhere. We're gonna, if everything keeps going the way it is, this Swallowed by Hell will not be our last album.
Mm-hmm. That's good. What are your, like, of course, you said you want to play some concerts and all of that, but can you say you have some plans for the nearest future? Morbid Saints plans for nearest future?
Yeah, the main thing we really want to do is we want to do because we can, it fits into our schedule real well, is the festivals, the big festivals around the world, where we can fly out to them on the weekend, take minimal time off from work and from our families, and be able to do that. So that's really, really what we want to do. Like I said, just because that's just how it works. And we'll do some other things, around the United States, as far as, some extended weekend stuff. But for the most part, we want to do festivals. We do have some stuff coming up already. We're playing actually the end of March at a festival down in Houston, Texas, called Hell's Heroes. We are coming over to, I want to say, I'm bad on dates because I should know all this, but there's just been a lot of stuff going on. We are over in the Czech Republic in October, I believe, for the Thrash Nightmare Festival. We are playing that. That one is that is an announced show. And there's there's one coming up possibly in Italy that has not been announced yet. So we're getting, you know, the offers are coming in, and that's really, you know, again, we kind of do this all ourselves. So you know, if people are contacting us and the situation works, we're gonna play wherever we can and wherever people want us to play, and we hope that more, you know, more offers like that come in.
Yes. Okay. And now you just released a new album, but do you have some, let's say, ideas and that, you know, can be on the next Morbid Saints albums?
Yeah, I think everybody kind of always, you kind of always have stuff, you know, whether it's lyrics or words or I mean you know, guitar parts or whatever. Yeah, we haven't, as a band, obviously worked on anything else besides this album, but there's already there's stuff there, and you know, I guess a lot of, if yeah, I'm talking about a next album already, but a lot of the next album's material, I think, will be determined by, you know, by this album, how this album does. You know, if people don't like what we're doing, we're not going to make another album. You know, I mean, that's kind of the way, you know. I guess for us, that I would have to say that would be the case, you know. But so far, this album seems to be doing all right. People seem to be seem to not just take it as, you know, a bunch of old guys coming back and trying to make an album, and they can't. I think so far it's been perceived well, so that's a good sign. And I mean, the only thing I could say about another album, my point of view on it, would be, if I had to say right now that we're gonna start writing another album, it would, in from my point of view, like I said, the next album would have to be even more brutal and more intense than this album. That would be a natural progression for me, would be to go even more extreme thrash, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now, two last questions, and these are questions that I'm asking in every interview. So it's all of the musicians says that they're really hard, but let's see how it will be in your case. So, your favorite album of all time, like favorite album of all time.
I have a lot, but I've been asked this before, and I like I said, I have so many of them, but I really, for some reason, the one album that I always, I just something about it, I don't know, is Years of Decay from Overkill.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why. That album, I love that album.
Yes, it's classic and
Yep.
genius album. Yeah, and the second question from the same category: your favorite band of all time, like most important. You know what I mean.
That's another hard. Yeah, you said those were hard questions. They are hard.
Yeah.
it's hard to isolate one band, like full band. You know, it's probably almost, I guess, I'm gonna have to, because of the really heavy early influence and everything. Um, I would probably almost have to say, boy, it's tough between Slayer and Metallica, but I would have to say Metallica. That it, especially those first three albums, um, they were so influential. Um, so I would have to say Metallica, even though I don't listen to them anymore, like the new. I listen to the old stuff, but I don't listen to their new stuff. Um, so I from going from a past, it would have to be Metallica. Nowadays, I'm just gonna kind of throw a newer one. Nowadays, this time and day, my favorite band right now that I really like a lot, um, and some people don't understand this, some people get it, is Arch Enemy.
Okay.
I really like Arch Enemy. I like their song structure. It just, and it's not only now, and some people don't like the new stuff with Alyssa. I do. I mean, I love the old stuff with Angela. But they're Arch Enemy to me is it's done. They're I can really connect with their music and their songwriting. But that's, yeah, again, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like pick this arch enemy because yeah, I also like a bit of it because those melodies of Michael Lamont are amazing and I love them.
Yep. That's one of the big things. They got so many. It's endless. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got so many great guitar parts.
Yeah, and their every album, like you said, it's endless. Every album has its special, really catchy and great melodies. So it's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So that would be the end. Thank you, Jim, and yeah, that's all.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate you asking for the interview, and I'm glad. I think you said you liked the new album. I'm glad you do, and
Yeah.
um, hopefully there'll be another one.
Yeah. I hope as soon as it's possible. Thank you, Jim. That's all. Thank you.
All right. All righty. Have a good one, man.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.